TF2's Eureka Effect as a wrench is a pretty unique concept, and it's one I wanted to go over in today's video because I have been using this a lot recently, and I've come to really like it and respect what it can do. I think this is also one of Engineer's most underrated melee weapons. I think it's often looked over in favour of the Jag or just the stock wrench, which I really can't understand because, as you'll see in this video, its downsides are really quite marginal for the upsides which it can give you, and in some situations I think it can outshine stock by a pretty wide margin. As always when we're analysing a weapon, I'm going to start by going over the weapon's stats. And the stats on the Eureka Effect are a bit more complex on the weapon's actual description than I think they need to be. Effectively, when you have the Eureka Effect out, you can press the reload key, or you can create a script, like I have, to allow you to do this automatically. But you by default press the reload key in order to bring out a menu that allows you to press 1 to teleport to your base, and 2 to teleport to your teleporter exit. To teleport to a teleporter exit, that exit does not have to be active, but it must be fully constructed. So that is to say, you don't have to have built a teleporter entrance in order to be able to teleport to the exit at all. And this can be useful in numerous situations, as we will be seeing. The other upside is teleporters are 50% cheaper both to build and upgrade, which means 100 metal per level to upgrade your teleporter, which means you only consume 200 metal in the process of upgrading it from level 1 to level 3. And you can also build them for 25 metal as opposed to 50. This can come in really handy sometimes, and as for the weapon's downsides, it does have the slightly slower construction speed, and it does also have a penalty when picking up from metal packs, so you only get 80% of the metal you normally would. So that's 80 instead of 100 from a medium metal pack you get. This can be a hindrance in some situations, but the ability to teleport to spawn I think kind of negates this, because it allows you to have access to the resupply cabinet, which is an infinite source of metal anyway, so there is in a lot of situations just no need for that downside. It is not really worth taking into consideration when choosing this wrench. However, I will say that if you're having difficulty maintaining a teleporter, this may not be your first choice of wrench, because the problem with it is if you don't have a teleporter up, you can teleport back to spawn, but you won't be able to get back to your buildings in the front line, and they will go down very quickly. The fact that this thing builds teleporters cheaper I like to consider to be more of a little bonus. For me, I use this wrench because I enjoy the teleporting and I enjoy the utility that gives you. So let's go over the situations which you can use. In the intro clip to this video, I showed you teleporting to spawn from an inactive teleporter exit and killing a spy who was there in order to unsap my teleporter exit and stop that spy from harassing it. This is one of my favourite use cases of the Eureka Effect, which is just surprise attacks. Now I know it's become a bit of a meme of late, and well, not even of late, for the past 3 years, that the Eureka Effect can do this, but effectively, the ability to teleport anywhere, be that to teleporter exit or to spawn, is incredibly useful because, well, if an enemy can't expect you, I think Lazy Purple said it best, every class in the game in the end performs better when your opponent isn't looking at you. But that's only scratching the surface. Now we do have the famous Jag effect rollout, and this has been covered in detail already by several YouTubers. I think Uncle Dane's video is very popular and it's like an hour long, and it goes over all the Jag effect rollouts in pretty much all the detail you could ever want. So I won't reiterate those points here, I don't want to be repetitive. Instead, I'm going to bring my own hot take to it, which is you don't actually need the Jag. The Eureka Effect, I think, can allow you to do rollouts fine on its own. The teleportation feature means you can get back to spawn to grab metal anytime during your rollout, even if that map has relatively few metal packs. And what's more, the fact that you don't have to switch between wrenches all the time shaves some time off your rollout, which could be used productively. Some maps have very short setup times, and I think in these use cases, you could as well be better off using the Eureka Effect, if only for the simplicity of not having to switch constantly to the Jag and back. This is obviously only if you enjoy playing with Eureka Effect normally and aren't just using it for the purposes of your rollout. If you are doing that, you will need to return to spawn to switch wrenches, but as someone who enjoys the wrench as a whole, I don't feel the need to go back to spawn to switch to the Jag at any point during my rollout, or indeed to any other wrench. I find it's a perfectly useful wrench in combat situations. Its downsides don't really affect you during combat because, well, as engineer, the majority of the time you will have that dispenser next to you, which will allow you to get that metal without having to incur your penalty, and the construction speed isn't too relevant once you have all your buildings up already. So at that point it's basically just a side grade that does allow you to teleport, well, effectively an upgrade effect once you have your buildings up, in that it allows you to teleport, have that mobility, and you can refill your metal at convenience using the resupply cabinet. You just have to be careful. If a spy or a big push is about to come in towards your sentry, you'd be better off checking around the corner quickly to see if anyone's coming before you do teleport, and spy check them if they are on your team, just to make sure you aren't going to be getting killed or having your buildings go down to a sapper while you're in spawn, as the taunt does take 2 seconds each way, and you really don't want to be spending 5, 6, 7 seconds away from your buildings in the middle of a big push. Another situation in which this wrench shines is when you've got several engineers on your team, because engineers do need metal packs in order to survive when they aren't going back to the resupply cabinet, which costs time and effort. And what this effectively means is you can, at no risk to you, because the teleportation is practically instant, and obviously you can't get killed while you're in the process of teleporting, unlike walking, you can effectively, at very little risk to you, you can get to and from spawn, pick up metal, and keep your buildings maintained without having to take ammo packs away from your fellow engineers, which is extremely useful, and I guarantee they will be grateful for that. This is especially useful in a pub setting, because there's always that one annoying scout who fires his pistol like 3 times and then takes your metal pack away from you. And some maps, particularly older, less balanced payload and attack defend maps, do have a severe lack of metal packs that make the Eureka Effect very useful in those situations. But you do need to work around the weapon's downside, so if you are on a map like, let's say, Badwater Last, which has, I think, 2 large metal packs and a resupply cabinet very close at hand, I wouldn't be using the Eureka Effect in that situation personally, because although I like the wrench so much, I acknowledge the fact that the teleportation upside in that situation, and the cheaper teleporters, because, well, your resupply point is right next to where the battle is taking place. I acknowledge that the wrench is of very little use in that specific situation. So I think more generally, it's not just Badwater either, just last holds in general. The Eureka Effect, I think you should switch away from that, take a break with it. As for which other wrench you could switch to, I recommend either the Jag or Stock. However, if you're in a competitive setting where random crits are disabled, you may consider switching to the Southern Hospitality, especially if you've got problems with spies, because obviously that wrench has one of its main downsides is no random crits, and you won't be affected by that if random crits are altogether disabled in that server. But that's a different topic for another time and a different wrench, so let's keep talking about the Eureka Effect. Which weapons should you partner this with? Now, I think the fact that you can teleport in and out of combat gives this wrench a flexibility that the other non-gunslinger wrenches don't have, and I think as such I would consider this to be the most aggressive of the level 3 engineer melee, so excluding the gunslinger. And for this reason I would always partner it with a shotgun, be that Stock or the Frontier Justice. Now, I have made a video in the past about how much I dislike the Panic Attack, but if you like the Panic Attack, if that floats your boat, then feel free to use it. I have changed my opinion. I may be a little bit less hard on the Panic Attack than I used to be. I used to just not like the thing at all, thanks to the weakness at mid-range, but now I will happily use it for a round or two, even though I still prefer the Stock shotgun. Now that is why I will always personally pick the Stock shotgun unless my sentry has a lot of kills on it, in which case I will just use the loadout quick switch bind. Highly recommended it if you haven't got one already, to switch to that Eureka Effect. And I think this is pretty much how you use the Eureka Effect. If you have any ideas of your own, please contribute them to the discussion. And I think that'll be all from me for this video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.